it was supposed to be the final game ever between Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady last night, and it was supposed to be a shootout, and we were supposed to see loads of good stuff, but instead it turned out into a massive defensive struggle. Mike Carlson is with us. Mike, good morning to you. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm doing better than Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady, probably. But, they may have another matchup in the rest home in 20 years or so. That might be interesting.
It did not live up to the pre-fight hype.
No, that's putting it mildly. I think in one way you've got a similar problem for the two guys in that they don't have the receiving core that they want to. In Rodgers' case, because Devontae Adams is gone, they haven't really replaced him, although Romeo Doubs made a couple of plays in that game, rookie receiver. And in Brady's case, through injury, once he gets the people back who he's supposed to have, it might well be okay for him. But you're right, it was a defensive battle. I thought Tampa's defense in particular was really good, and it came down to a failed 2-point conversion at the end of the game that would have sent it into overtime and prolonged the agony for most of the people watching.
You would generally say, I think, that the first 4, 5, 6 weeks of the season, it takes a while for offenses to get up to speed, and it's generally a defensive struggle. And you can look at the games that San Francisco have been involved in. The greatest offensive mind of his generation, barely able to rack up any points, with a horrific mistake made. But you take all that, right, as it's a cliche because it's true, and it's true because it happens year after year. And then you look at the Miami Dolphins, who have a new coach, who have managed to find explosive offense immediately, because that guy might actually be the most genius offensive mind in the league at the moment.
Well, that may be an exaggeration. And he comes from that same Shanna-Clan coaching tree as the 49ers. Buffalo had more first downs in that game than San Francisco and Denver put together had in their game. Miami was completely dominated for most of that game. They played very well defensively in a sense. But what killed Buffalo more than anything was the fact that they couldn't finish. They had over 40 minutes of possession in a 60-minute game. It's very rare for a team to have that much possession and lose. They had 31 first downs to Miami's 15. They ran 90 plays. They were dead at the end of the game. Guys were limping off with cramps. It was in the 90s in Miami, very, very humid. They had 497 yards of offense to Miami's 212. And what happened was the same thing that's happened in Miami's other wins. They make a few big plays when it counts, at the end of the game, especially at home when the other team is tired. We saw the same thing with New England and in the Ravens game. And that's a formula for winning if your defense can keep it close. And the real difference in the game, when I was picking games on Wednesday, which is always kind of too early to pick games in the NFL week, I said Miami's strength is that deep ball. They have the game-breaking presence of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, who can each make huge plays out of nothing. But Buffalo is a team that's constructed not to allow those kind of plays. Now, that was before Micah Hyde was lost for the season. Jordan Poyer was lost in the game. They had a makeshift secondary, and eventually Miami was able to take care of it. Whether this is Mike McDaniel's master plan, I'm not so sure, but it certainly was what they were looking for to make Tua Tagovailoa more effective as a quarterback by getting these deep threats by Waddle by draft and Tyreek Hill by a big trade, getting them in for them. So in that sense, the plan is working, and Miami's been successful so far. I'm not sure how long they're going to be able to maintain that success when other teams are able to take Tyreek, say, out of the game the way New England did. And when I say take him out of the game, he had 9 catches for about 95 yards, I think, in that game. But as long as he's not beating you deep, you can keep the game manageable.
It is pretty exciting, though, that Miami have been able to inject this level of pace and energy and smarts into their offense so quickly.
Yes. And, you watched McDaniel on the sidelines. He looks like a graduate assistant in a college program, but he obviously is a smart guy. He's a Yale graduate. I grew up in that area. I've listened to obnoxious Yaleys all my life. And, he's obviously got the team on the right page, and in a sense, it's only a continuation. I thought they were getting better for the last 2 years under Brian Flores, but it was his offense was well behind the defense. Now the defense is still okay, and the offense is catching up by leaps and bounds. So it's changed the tenor of that division completely. And with New England losing to Baltimore and the Jets reverting back to form, I don't think you can think that this is anything but a two-team race right now.
Yeah, and these two teams are more than likely going to meet, hopefully, potentially twice more this season.
Yeah, hopefully in the snow at Buffalo. So
it'll be totally different, of course. And what about Patrick Mahomes? Because again, the early season narratives are they've recovered from whatever it was that happened to them last season. They've added relatively well. Andy Reid always creates, and they're going to go on this cascading run, blitzing teams. But lo and behold, the Colts, who are not great, or certainly had started the season abysmally, managed to pull off a win yesterday.
Yeah, this was one of those games that's really frustrating when you're watching Red Zone and maybe you have another game on, to watch and because every time you looked at it, it seemed like Kansas City was going to run away with the game. And Indianapolis didn't. The Colts defense was playing much more like the Matt Eberflus defenses of the last couple of years. They'd had some problems, I think, the first couple of weeks getting that. And Stephon Gilmore, who was their big money acquisition and has been mostly hurt for since he became a free agent out of New England, had a couple of really big plays in this game. I think defensive players making big plays was sort of the story of the weekend. I wanted to mention Holland for Miami, who I thought just had a brilliant game, but Matt Ryan looked, just completely unable to move the ball against that pressure you mentioned from the Chiefs. They were one of a number of teams that sort of sold out to blitzing as a defensive strategy this weekend. And they just hung in, and then he made a play at the end of the game. Very hard for me to explain how the Chiefs' offense is not working when, if you're watching Red Zone, every time you see it, it is working. So, they're not getting the bread and butter stuff. And to an extent, which I didn't think would happen, but the idea of Tyreek Hill as the man who forces the double coverage so that everything else up. Now it's Travis Kelce getting the double coverage, or they're sitting back and defying somebody else to beat them deep, and that's what they don't have. Kelce had a great game. He got open a lot, but he's not going to win a game by beating you deep the way that Tyreek Hill did. And I think that's something that they still probably haven't fully adjusted to. And then you saw if you were watching, you saw the argument at halftime. Mahomes going up to the offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, and really screaming. They were screaming because he wanted to run a few plays at the end of the half, and Bieniemy didn't. He just wanted to get in at halftime. And Andy Reid came up and broke them up, kind of saying, Eric's not the Bieniemy, Patrick. Let's get this together.
Yeah,
I had to get that one in.
There you go. We'll see how well or otherwise. Maybe when they're doing America's Game at the end of the season, the three of them will be sitting down going, "Yeah, that was the moment where we decided we needed to get together and turn the keys over entirely to this guy," and lo and behold, something gets unlocked. Because it feels like we're very much in a state of flux at the moment, where stuff that we thought we knew before the season isn't entirely true, and stuff that we thought was not going to be true is true. Like I'm looking at the Jags suddenly.
That was great. I mean, what an upset that is. And I know the Chargers are beaten up, and Herbert isn't 100% and all, but they played a really strong game on both sides. And I think the first thing you obviously say is it's the effect of coaching, as opposed having Doug Peterson there as opposed to Urban Meyer, who was kind of coaching as a part-time job. It seemed with Jacksonville. James Robinson was fantastic, and last season Urban Meyer didn't want to play James Robinson because he didn't kind of fit his idea. But obviously Trevor Lawrence has been coached up. He looks very comfortable. He looked, he looked like the kind of guy we expected him to be coming out of college. And their defense is really so much better, and I think that when you look at their defense, when you look at that Carolina's defense, you said, I think early, the defenses are kind of ahead of offenses at this point, to an extent that we didn't think they would be after 3 weeks. But it really is showing in games where you're getting double low scoring contests from teams who are expected to score lots of points. And I think it might say something to the weird preseason, that the teams have not adjusted to the new style of preseason, which has far less contact practice and one less exhibition game out of, and some teams kept their starters out of those exhibitions completely. I don't think in a lot of cases that we're fully ready to go, and we're seeing, I think, more injuries in the first few weeks than we would normally get, although I can't swear to that.
They're not battle hardened. One last one. We need to talk about Jimmy Garoppolo. I hadn't heard of Dan Orlovsky. That was kind of a time when I wasn't paying that much attention.
Yeah, the former UConn quarterback. Orlovsky was famous. Actually, this is two things. Now I'm going to have to just add one. We had the Butt Punt, a successor to the Butt Fumble, where Miami's punter kicked the ball into his blocker's rear end, and it went out of bounds for a safety.
Like right up it. It was right up it. I mean, it was phenomenal. I don't know. You have to look this up if anybody hasn't seen this yet. I don't know what they were thinking. Like,
it was 10 years since the Butt Fumble. If they could have done this on Thanksgiving, it would have been the 10th anniversary. But it's brilliant.
But like,
the reason is
step to one side. Kick to the side. Don't kick it up his hole.
Yeah, he didn't think about that. But the reason, they were in the end zone. So normally a punter's 15 yards back from the line of scrimmage. This time he's only 11, so everything was being rushed, and it had a big effect on the game as well. They might have been better off letting them kick the ball, or getting the kick off. But anyway. Dan Orlovsky was a quarterback for the Lions out of UConn, in fact. And in one game, he was being chased across the end zone, and he ran out the back of the end zone on a kind of parallel to the line without realizing it. And when you step out of the back of the end zone with the ball, it's an automatic safety. So the play ends. Jimmy Garoppolo in the game against Denver did sort of the same thing, except he was dropping straight back. He just dropped back a step too far out of the end zone, which turned out to be a good thing because he threw a pick six. And the fact that he had stepped out of the end zone negated the interception and touchdown for Denver. So by actually making what you would consider a dumb play, he saved the team 5 points.
Right. That's it's good when the best thing you've done is concede 2 points, as opposed to when that's the highlight of your day. Things are going great for you. All right, Mike, we'll leave it there. Good stuff. Thanks a million.
Okay, thanks, Ger.
Cheers.
Some nights are spent watching a lot of golf for me, so I rely on the viral moments for my NFL film.
Yeah.
I thought the Ken Dorsey, the Bulls offensive coordinator's reaction to them losing was the highlight of the weekend.
I missed that.
Did you not see this? I'll show you here. To say he loses the rag.
The Bills. Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Oh my God. It's the camera in the coaching booth,
and then he knows he's on camera at some point and realizes it.
Is it him, or does somebody else put the hand over the camera, realizing maybe that this guy is embarrassing and humiliating himself,
completely losing it? Yeah, but they were the ones who were the benefits of the Butt Punt.
Yeah,
it was insane.
It seems that happened before it's a hard thing to say, Butt Punt.
No, that's the end of the game.
Is it?
Yeah, because I was watching that live. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
That was the end of the game. I didn't know his name. So that's like, they were, they're everybody's telling them they're the greatest team that's ever been. That only last year it was a coin flip in overtime that prevented them from getting to the Super Bowl, and they would have rolled in the Super Bowl, which not even the Chiefs managed to end up doing. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly they recover. Butt Punt.
Butt Punt.
Yeah.